KOMO News.
We are staying on top of the closely watched Seattle mayor's race. Challenger Katie Wilson continues to lead incumbent Mayor Bruce Harrell by a little more than 1,900 votes. A recount is triggered if the difference between the two is less than 0.5% or less than 2,000 votes. And within the last hour, you learned Mayor Bruce Harrell will address the city tomorrow afternoon. We know that speech is scheduled for noon, and of course, we will bring you those remarks on KOMO TV, online at KOMOnews.com, as well as KOMO's YouTube page. KOMO political analyst Ron Dotzauer is here. Ron, a lot to talk about.
Sure.
In the first ballot dump that happened last week, we're talking election night, Harrell had a 7-point lead. That has completely disappeared.
It has.
We have seen this trend before. For people who may not be familiar with it, walk us through what happens.
Well, historically in the city of Seattle, not necessarily in other places, be different in Spokane or Tacoma or Everett.
Okay.
But in the city of Seattle, what happens is usually those folks that are what I would call farther left of center, more progressive but more liberal, have a tendency to vote on the day of the election in the ballot boxes. Those are the last votes that are really counted. And so that number that's come in has done that again in this election cycle.
Why is it that the more left of center, the more progressive ballots tend to come in that day?
Yeah, you know, I don't know that
Why do you think that is?
I'm not sure I have a good answer for that one, but let me take a crack at it. Because, you know, they hold their ballots a little bit longer, and I think that they want to actually go to the ballot box as opposed to mailing them in.
Okay.
Maybe there's some psychological, with ideological/psychological effort to make that happen. But what is pretty clear here from these numbers, Mary, is that, well, we see this country is divided, so is the city of Seattle. You know, no matter what happens here, it's pretty much a 50-50 city. You know, and 4 years ago, the city swung a little bit more center-left, and 4 years later, they swung even more left with the city attorney's race, the city council race, and now the mayor's race.
The mayor's office has been relatively quiet this week,
Yes.
Since the new numbers have come in nightly. Katie Wilson, on the other hand, has been open. Yesterday she talked to KOMO senior reporter Chris Daniels. She used the phrase transition team already.
Yep.
And we now know the mayor is scheduled to address the city tomorrow.
Yes.
Do you think, as a political strategist and a political expert, do you think that this is a concession speech? What do you expect him to say tomorrow?
Well, it may be very close to concession speech, but you know, as you mentioned just a little bit ago on the broadcast, there is a recount that's possibly going to be had here. So will he wait out to see if the recount? The thing historically with recounts, they don't usually change that much.
Okay.
They you know, because of the technology that's going on in the election cycle, they just don't change that much. It's not even his choice. If it's the 1/2 of 1%, they will do the automatic recount and probably reaffirm what the final tally is going to be. The other thing the final tally is going to show, it's been 20 years since we've re-elected a mayor in the city of Seattle. It's kind of it's a one and done kind of thing, you know.
Sure.
It's a short-term political career if you want to be a mayor of Seattle. One term and, you know, voters are moving on from you.
Let's talk about the challenge ballots, more than 1,000. We're talking signature challenges. I don't know if they've all been clarified just yet, or the term they use, the ballots have been cured.
Yes.
Do you think that could be a difference maker, or you don't see that being a situation?
No, generally speaking, they reflect what happened during the voting period, okay? And so the challenges might be just a mark that's off a little bit or something like that. And even 1,000, if all 1,000 changed, right, depending what happens here in the final, it probably wouldn't change the outcome. And so it'd be more, I expect to be more reflective of the final tally on the challenge ballots. But there will be, I'm guessing that maybe both campaigns are chasing some of those ballots down to see if they can get them into the cycle.
If the numbers do not change, it looks like Seattle has a new mayor. What does this mean for City Hall and leadership as a whole moving forward?
Well, I think it means a couple of things.
Okay.
One, it's clearly ideologically, the shift is on. It is a very, very left of center city council, and somebody who's claimed to be a socialist as now mayor. I think there's an increased possibility that will probably draw the president's attention now with this election. And he'll say, aha, I told you so. Seattle's just like Portland. And I expect something like that out of the White House. We'll see, but that could easily happen. And here's the other thing they've got to deal with. In very short order, they've got a $140 million deficit staring them in the face in the city budget. You know, and I don't know that they could just tax themselves out of this, okay? Somebody's going to have to step in and say, listen, we need to do something with our budget. We're going to have to also, you know, balance this with some cuts. But it is a daunting task for this new administration and for this council to deal with coming right into 2026 and 2027.
Certainly a political newcomer.
It certainly is, and it'll be interesting. I mean, this is going to be an interesting observation to take a look at what's going on in City Hall for the next 6 months to the next 12.
All right, Ron Dotzauer with Strategies 360. Always appreciate your insight. Thank you, Ron.
You betcha, Mary.
And stick with KOMO News for continuing coverage of the Seattle Mayor's race and the potential for a recount. We'll have updates for you right here on KOMO TV and online at KOMOnews.com.